Well, hi everybody. I know it's been a while since we have done one of our leadership videos. We are so sorry, but we want to remind you that our last one was in April. Paul and Jill Maris shared an amazing video. Paul is an IT exec with Aldi, and Jill has been the principal at Canelan High School now for years. Actually, this year she is finally retired. But they had a powerful leadership lesson for us. And then next month, Carolyn Rudnick will be sharing with us. And then right after the first of the year, we have got Eric Winkler. So to make it up for you, because we've been gone a couple months, we have got an all-star cast lineup for you with some great leadership principles that you can apply and use at work, in your teams and groups, or even in your personal life. So today, I want to talk to you a lesson, a tool that I learned years ago from John Maxwell when he wrote his very first version of his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And then years later, he came out with the anniversary edition. And the law that I want to look at is called the law of addition. This is a leadership principle that, if we apply it to our life, really has the capacity to make an enormous impact on us, on the organizations that we serve, but most importantly, on the people who serve with us, who serve us, and the customers, the people, the congregants that we are seeking to serve. And the law of addition says this: leaders add value by serving others. Let me just say that again. The law of addition says that leaders add value by serving others, by thinking about how we can make a difference in other people's life. Jim Senegal, who was the co-founder of Costco and a number of other businesses, he was a prolific entrepreneur, incredibly successful leader. He said this: he said, if you treat your employees and your customers right, profits will follow. And he said this: he said, this is not just being altruistic. In other words, this is not good for goodness sake. Remember, he was a businessman, but he understood that it was good business. John Maxwell says this. He says, the bottom line in leadership isn't how far we go as individual leaders. It's not how far I go. It's actually how far we help others go. It's how much we're able to empower and infuse others with the tools and the resources and the energy that they need to move forward. We're right in the middle of a political cycle right now, and there's always an interesting question that has been raised over and over and over since the 80s, and that is, are you better off now? That's what any incumbent, any standing political person or party or affiliation, they always ask, are you better off right now? Are you better since I took office? And for those people who believe that the situation is dire or bleak or worse, they'll ask the question too, in the sense of, hey, you acknowledge that things are worse. The same thing is true. Are you making things better? Are you making people better? Are you making the organization better through the way that you serve? If you are a leader of a small group or a team, if you're the leader of a project at work or a parents group in the community, are those people better? Is their circumstances better? Are their situations better because you're serving in that place? And here's the thing I want you to know, that when we look at this idea of servant leadership and adding value to people's life, 90% of people who are adding value to other people's lives are doing it intentionally. Meaning that if you're not actively thinking about this, the chances are pretty slim that it's just happening accidentally around your life. So I want to give you just really quickly today four just very practical things to think about in this idea of adding value, being a value multiplier to your organization, to the people in your life. So the first thing, if you want to add value, you have to truly value people. You have to truly value your team, your group. You have to truly value the customers that you are trying to serve. Effective leaders go beyond like the typical sort of Hippocratic oath, do no harm. It isn't enough that you aren't causing harm. It isn't enough that you aren't dragging the team down. You have to actively and intentionally be thinking about, are you helping them? Do you really value them? There's a story that Jesus tells that only appears in the Gospel of Luke, and it's the story of the Good Samaritan. And in the story, a man who was really a pariah to his culture and his community, he was an outsider. He was someone that everyone else, including the injured man, would have looked down on contempt. He was the one, not all of the classic heroes of the day. It's this outlier who is willing to stoop down because he finds value in this injured man, and he helps him along. And you know the story. He not only takes care of the man on the street, but he gets him somewhere safe, and then he covers all of the expenses of the rest of his recovery. This man that was not valued himself in that culture finds and gives real value to others. So we have to truly value people, number one. Number two, we have to make ourselves more valuable to others. So if I'm on the job and I'm thinking about how I can serve my team, I need to be growing in whatever it is we're doing. My skills, my competencies, my capacity, my information. The same thing is true in faith. I need to be growing in my faith. I need to be growing in my understanding of God's word. I need to be growing in my relationship with Jesus so that I'm giving out of a surplus of what God is doing in my life. And the same thing applies to any level of leadership. You can't really lead from behind, right? You have to be out in front of people, and there is nothing that will help people more than when you have experiences that you can speak into their experience, where you have information that you can speak into their information. And I think that's why Paul says in 2 Timothy 2:15, work hard, study to show yourself a good worker, to present yourself to God as someone who is approved. A good worker who doesn't ever have to be ashamed, who correctly explains the word of truth. A good worker who doesn't have to explain or make excuses for why their work didn't hit the mark, didn't measure up. So we want to always be lifelong learners. We want to be lifelong disciples. We want to make ourselves more valuable to others. Number two. Number three, know and relate to what others value. One of the things when we have new team members join us here at The Well is I always encourage them not to do anything for the first 6 months. Just get to know the system, the people, the processes that already exist. And once you really understand who's there, what's happening, and why, then you'll be better equipped to be able to make decisions. So good leaders who are adding value are good listeners. Inexperienced leaders are quick to lead before knowing anything about people that they intend to lead. But mature leaders, they always listen and learn and then lead. So James 1:19 says you have to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry, slow to be emotional, slow to be passionate, slow to kind of tear things up and make a mess. So again, you have to really value people. You have to make yourself more valuable to them, and you have to know what is valuable to them and be able to relate to it. And then finally, we have to do the things that obviously God values. A big part of good leadership is having no unresolved relational conflict in your life with other people. So if you're at work and you've got this broken communication, this broken relationship with someone that you're on a project with, if you're at home and you have a broken relationship with a sibling or a parent or a spouse, if you're in church and you've got a broken relationship with someone on your team, you're not going to be able to add value into their life. It's so important that we keep those connection lines clean and clear and healthy and whole. And I think that's why Jesus even said in Matthew's gospel, listen, if you're coming to worship and you remember that you've got this broken relationship in your life, stop trying to relate to me. Go fix it with your brother or sister and then come back. Peter says something very similar when he's writing to the church. He says, listen, if you're thinking about going and having a conversation with God and you've got broken communication with your spouse, you need to go sort out that communication with your spouse, then go have a talk with the Lord. That's the kind of importance that God really puts on our relationship with people. So we have to make sure that we are valuing people, that we are making ourselves the greatest possible value for them, that we really understand what they value, what is important to them, and that we're always doing it in a godly way, keeping those lines of communication and connection clear and open and robust and healthy. And then we're going to be able to have a life that is worth living. That's what Albert Einstein said. He said, the only life lived that is worth living is one lived in the service of others. So we hope that that will be a great principle for you in your leadership this week and over the next couple weeks. Don't forget to check out Paul and Jill, and stay tuned next month for Carolyn. God bless.